Hello, everybody. I'm Katie.
And I'm Candace.
And welcome to Dead in the Heart of Texas, a Texas true crime and paranormal podcast.
Yeah! We're back!
Where we bring you fairy tales from the great state. Just kidding.
Oh yeah, another week, another depressing story.
Well, why not a depressing story to match these depressing times?
Yeah, why not? But before that, let's just catch up a bit. How are things going with you?
They're good. We're still waiting to hear if school's going to be online or in person, and I have a feeling it's probably going to be online.
Yeah, probably. I think here in Texas, what they've decided on is that, until Labor Day, classes were going to be held remotely, and then they were going to try to get people back into the schools after Labor Day, which sounds like a really bad idea to me, because, people are going to be going out to the lakes and the beaches for Labor Day and not social distancing, and then you're just going to get them all back together and
yeah, school. And I'd rather be safe than sorry.
So...
I just wish everybody had that mindset.
Yeah, I was at HEB the other day, and there was a guy who did not have a mask on at all. And currently in my city/county, it is mandatory for you to wear a mask in public.
Smart people, huh?
Yeah, I kind of have a new game where it's like when I'm in the grocery store, I count how many people have their mask either under their nose or under their chin, or not wearing a mask at all, and then I go home and take a bunch of shots, and then I am drunk for the rest of the day.
Lovely. I was thinking, I'm like, should I have my beer out while we film today?
Yeah, I just... anyways. Please wear a mask, people.
Yeah. Or I think we all saw that CDC thing, or the scientist/doctor who was like, we could actually get rid of this in 2 months if everybody just wore a mask.
Yeah, it's not that hard. I know it's kind of uncomfortable or irritating, but if doctors can wear masks for 20 hours during a surgery.
There's something, a post I saw that was the true test of what kind of person you are is shopping carts, and how it doesn't really take any effort to put it back, and it's the right thing to do. But if you don't do it, unless there's something threatening you, if you don't do it, that means you probably won't wear a mask, because it doesn't openly benefit you. So it's basically saying if you don't do that, you're kind of on the selfish side. But it kind of makes a lot of sense, right?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I heard the thing about the determine if you're a good person or not if you put the cart back, but I didn't hear that part about the mask. But yeah,
does make sense.
I see that.
Those idiots who leave them in a parking spot instead.
Well, that makes me so angry. I hate going to the grocery store. Anyways.
If only we could all afford HelloFresh.
And today's episode is brought to you by... No, I wish.
Nope. Maybe someday.
Maybe someday. HelloFresh, if you're out there and want to sponsor us, hit us up at deadintheheartoftexas@gmail.com. Yes, I would love to talk about how much I love HelloFresh. And I would love to eat HelloFresh.
Yeah, and Candace will come visit me again, and we'll do a collab video cooking it, just for you, HelloFresh.
Yeah. Real quick before we get started, I was reminded of something that I had forgotten a long time ago. Forgot that it had ever happened. And that was that my great-grandpa owned a pet monkey. A capuchin.
Okay.
Sorry, someone, posted it in this Facebook group that I'm a part of for some reason, I'm not sure. And it was my grandpa had taken his monkey, whose name is Michael, or was Michael, to the barber shop to get a crew cut.
Oh my.
Which, I don't condone having a pet capuchin. But they mentioned that he had denim pants and a red bandana that he liked to wear, the monkey.
Wow.
And I'm very sad because there are no pictures of this Michael wearing blue jeans.
Then it never happened. That's how today is.
Yeah. Yeah, in the picture he has like a little cape over him, so you can't tell if he's wearing any clothes. But anyways, I just felt like I had to share that because I had totally forgotten that had ever happened.
I'm glad you shared it, because now I know that happened.
Yeah, so if you ever do hear me doing 2 truths and a lie, and I say that as part of my truths, keep your mouth shut. I'm just kidding. But yeah, do you want to go ahead and get started?
Alright. Bringing on today's cherry conversation. Surprise, I'm going to be sharing the true crime story of Kari Baker.
Ooh, I don't know who this is.
April 7th. Yeah, it's new. Well, it's not actually new, but it's new to you and me.
Okay.
So basically, Kari Baker died on April 7th, 2006 of an apparent suicide. There was a typed but unsigned suicide note, and the thing is, the police didn't actually order an autopsy. They just were like, nope, it's a suicide. Didn't even blink, to be honest. However...
What city is this?
Oh, you'll find out, Candace.
Oh no, okay.
Hold on, let me just get my charger happy. Okay. Basically, Kari's family members did not believe she would kill herself, and when police closed the investigation, Kari's family opened their own investigation on Kari's husband, Matt.
Oh. It's always the husband.
There we go.
Sorry.
You ready for this? Okay.
Yeah,
so some
ready.
background information. So Matt Baker was a Baptist preacher in Waco, Texas. He and Kari met in college and got married after dating for only 3 months. And they appeared to be the perfect couple from day one, and soon after marriage they started a family, and then they ended up having 3 daughters, and honestly, from the outside in, it seemed like the perfect family. However, after Kari's death, some warning signs were shared that this perfect life was indeed not what it seemed.
Uh-oh.
So basically, after her quote-unquote suicide, Matt claimed that there were many clues that Kari was going down a downward spiral, and he said she'd been depressed ever since the death of their second daughter, Cassidy, who unfortunately died of a brain tumor at age 1. And this was about a decade before Kari's death. And Matt was like, my wife had a hole in her heart, so she was sad and depressed, and I'm not surprised this happened. However, Kari's family wasn't having any of that. And they were like, no, she was a doting mother, and she wouldn't just leave 2 children behind, because she, loved them more than anything in the world. And like I said, Kari's mom, cousin, and aunts launched their own investigation. And basically all of them knew he was lying, and were like, nope, she wouldn't leave her children, that's just not who she is. So, let's start with the evidence that the family found. So the first piece of evidence, Linda Doolin, Kari's mom, I don't know why, but she obtained Kari's cell phone bills and noticed that calls were still being made after her daughter died.
Huh.
And it turns out that Matt had given Kari's phone to someone else. Vanessa Bowles, a recently divorced single mom and a member of the family church. And here's a shocker. Vanessa and Matt had been having an affair while Kari was still alive.
That bastard.
And later on in the investigation, Kari's therapist did reveal that Kari was suspicious that her husband was having an affair and admitted that she was scared that he was gonna get rid of her. Because she had found crushed pills in his briefcase.
Ooh.
Through all this... Yeah?
Oh. Do they... know what her method was for committing suicide?
Yeah, so basically, the crush pills come into play, but she apparently had an overdose of pills and wine coolers. And supposedly her husband had gotten home and the door was locked and he broke down the door and found his wife. I don't know why I didn't share that at the beginning. I guess I was trying to create suspense, but this works too.
Oh, it's okay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to steal your thunder. I was just curious.
Good. I'm still figuring out the flow of this stuff.
It's all good. Well, I feel like wine coolers is a very 2006 thing.
Yeah, this was 2006, Candace. Good job.
Yeah. I was just making a comment of the time.
I love her laughing about this, too. Wow.
Anyways, yeah, that was the drink of choice for my mom back then. But, sorry, continue.
Anyway, so throughout all this introspection, Matt maintained that he was innocent incident. Wow. Okay. And he kept claiming that he could never hurt his wife. And he said, "There's no way I could have ever hurt her. I loved her. She's the mother of my children. I did not hurt my wife."
Yeah, sure you didn't.
And I don't know about you, but just, like, hearing that and some of the other stuff I'll mention, it reminds me of, like, the husband and the unsolved mysteries of, like, the husband in the first episode of the salon lady who was murdered, and the husband who would, like, sleep with her skull at night.
Yep, yeah.
Her ashes.
I still think about that guy.
Yeah.
He was definitely guilty, right? Like, in my opinion,
Stares into the abyss at some unknown police department that'll figure it out one day.
You know what, Katie? Let's solve that.
I don't think
case.
I want him coming after me, though.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I don't want him sleeping with my skull either. That's some Jeffrey Dahmer crap right there. But okay, continue.
Alright, so Matt had an attorney named Guy James Gray, and Guy James Gray, I should say it again, believed in Matt and his innocence, and he actually donated his otherwise very expensive services for the case. And on an interview with 2020, the attorney actually said he felt like the whole investigation was a witch hunt.
Oh.
And just a side note about the police's perspective on the investigation at first and how they just ruled it out as a suicide. Kari's family was told by the district attorney that even with the cell phone records and the affair coming to light, it still wasn't enough to prosecute.
Really?
Yeah. Although a quote later, after all of this kind of came to light, the county assistant DA Crawford Long said that, quote, "I think a lot of people thought that the case was sitting on a shelf somewhere. We were actively doing things like the DNA, the fingerprinting, talking to the pathologist, doing everything we could. But I'm kind of skeptical. I can't talk anymore. It's fine.
It's all good. It's been a long day.
But I am kind of skeptical about that, especially given the last case I talked about where the police were like, they just ran away when referring to the Houston mass murders.
Yeah, the Dean Coral. Yeah. That's really frustrating. And that's 2006. I mean, it was 14 years ago. But that's still pretty recent enough for... I don't know what I'm saying, but
it's okay.
I know what I'm saying. It's why don't you look into things a bit more?
I don't know, because it's like I'm not a cop. I don't know how that stuff works. I don't know that if I was in this situation I would do any better. But when you see it from the other side, it's like, why did the family figure it out and not you?
It's just so like frustrating.
You didn't check phone records.
Yeah. If a non-cop is figuring this stuff out without you, you probably should step your game up, and that's all I'm gonna say.
No, there was like another, I can't remember what show it was, maybe Forensic Files, probably Forensic Files, where this girl's mother disappeared when she was little, and they lived on this huge acre property, or acres, excuse me. But anyway, there was like this skull on the property apparently the whole time, and they just never looked into it. And the daughter finally was like, okay, one day I went to the store, got myself a notebook from Walmart for like 76 cents, investigated, and she solved it. And the skull was her mother's. And I was just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, okay, so I live on about 13 acres of land, and most of it's pretty wooded, and like, no one goes there because there's just so much shrubs and things like that. I think one of my biggest fears is that I'm going to find a dead body on my land one day. I think about it often when I take Freya for walks. That's normal,
Man.
right?
Honestly, with the stuff we research, yeah.
Like, it's just like, I think about it a lot, especially when I take her for walks. I'm like, someone could hide a body out here and no one would know.
And we both know about your neighbors, so.
And now that looks very incriminating against me.
Let's get to the actual crime that we're talking about. So, let's talk about the breakthrough in the case. Or, as I like to say, the key witness, who is none other than Matt's mistress, Vanessa Bowles.
Forgot about her.
So basically, Vanessa had never been interviewed before, and she just didn't admit to affair at all or that she knew anything about Kari's death. Finally, a grand jury assembled, and Vanessa was, is this how you say it, subpoenaed?
Subpoenaed?
Yeah.
Subpoenaed. I think so, yeah.
To testify. And for those of you who don't know, a subpoena is when a court basically orders or commands you to do something, and if you fail to comply, you'll be subjected to a civil or criminal penalty, such as jail time, a fine, or both. I looked it up and thought I'd share.
Very smart. I thought you knew that off the top of your head.
Yeah, I have those big words in my vocabulary. Basically, let's talk about the affair, shall we? So basically, Vanessa met Matt in September 2005 when she started attending Crossroads Baptist Church in Lorena, Texas, where Matt was the preacher. 3 months later, Matt had spotted Vanessa sitting alone in the sanctuary, and he struck up a conversation with her and basically asked about her divorce. And during the conversation, he said the following: "Whoever finds you is going to be a lucky man." And his flirtation grew more obvious as time went on. And this is Vanessa's own words. She said, "One time, he heard me talking about dating, and he said, 'Oh, don't date other guys, just date your pastor.'" Yep. And later, he told her that he was free of any STDs and had even gotten a vasectomy, and he admitted to having already cheated on his wife a few times in Dallas.
Wow, what a catch. I am so sold on this guy.
Yeah. Basically, I don't know how this happened, but Matt ended up giving her counseling after her divorce. And I guess one of these sessions, Kari was out of the house running errands or something, and that's when they first slept together.
In their own home.
Let's see. So that's when the affair started. And in fact, as you might have guessed, she did know something about the affair. Basically, according to Vanessa, Matt had contemplated several different methods to killing his wife, such as tampering with her car brakes, a drive-by shooting, or hanging her and making it look like a suicide. And Vanessa said that he wanted her out of his life and said he couldn't just divorce her because it would kill his career. And, just some background.
But
murder.
But murdering his wife would not kill his career?
I think he had a very big ego, as the holy man he was.
Sounds like it.
Basically. Yes. Just a side note, Kari... Actually, I'll just say it. Matt had told her how his wife had cheated up before because in the past she did try to kill herself once because of the depression she faced after losing her baby. And at the time, he stopped her, but later told Vanessa that he regretted doing that and should have just let her go. Yeah. And
what a
based
monster.
on this, he decided that making her death appear to be an overdose of sleeping pills was the way to kill her because people already knew that she had been depressed. And just commenting on the affair, Vanessa said that was a point in my life where I wasn't thinking straight. And basically, she said that he kind of preyed on her, and I can kind of see it, Because I think, just to point out, I think Matt was already, middle-aged, and she was mid-20s, and she was recently divorced. So, just look at that dynamic. Plus a pastor and all that stuff.
Gross.
So, as the affair progressed, Matt continued to talk negatively about Kari, and as I said, he kept saying how he should have just let her kill herself the first time. and his plan was to kill her on one of their date nights. The couple, or he and his wife, set aside time to, quote-unquote, try to regain the spark in the marriage. So, and Vanessa said that she knew about the plan, but didn't report it, even after learning about Kari's death the day after it happened. And Vanessa said she was shocked because part of her didn't really think he was going to go through with it. And Vanessa and her family actually went to the Baker's residence after Kari's death to pay respects, and Matt winked at her.
Ugh.
5 days later, she went back to Matt's house, and he told her what he did and how it happened. Matt was like, I'm only going to tell you this once, and then I'm never going to speak about it again. And he told her, you know you are stuck with me, right? Because you know about it and are just as guilty as I am. And Matt said that God is a forgiving God, and he was already forgiven.
Sure he was. I'm sure God forgave him.
In lieu of telling her everything, just to reiterate, Matt did give his wife doctored pills, and he had actually handcuffed her on the bed as like a premise of, oh, we're gonna spice up the marriage, you know? And he kissed her until she fell asleep. And he kissed her on the forehead and told her to hug or kiss their lost daughter, Cassidy. And then he suffocated her with a pillow.
What a sick... Wait, he suffocated
That's another
her
thing,
too,
right?
and
they didn't do an autopsy.
Yeah, because there's definitely signs when you suffocate
was out
someone.
After the testimony, where they actually did order one.
Okay, good. I'm so
and then
frustrated.
After this, after doing that, and actually, after killing her, Matt typed up a suicide note on the better computer and placed Kari's hands on it to get her fingerprints on it. And later, he locked the door to the bedroom, left his two girls sleeping down the hall, went to run a movie, gassed up the car, and 45 minutes later, he called 911 and basically did the whole, oh no, thing. And just some quotes from, oh my gosh, I did not just forget her name, I guess. That's terrible. Vanessa.
Carrie or
I remember
Vanessa?
Carrie.
Who are we talking about?
Basically,
Okay.
some quotes from Vanessa. She basically, when the prosecution was asking, like, why didn't you say anything before? She said many things along the lines of, he was and still is a manipulative liar. He took me in my worst, most very vulnerable state and made me believe everything he said. Along these, she said that he told me that he killed his wife because of me. Just another side fact, Vanessa, like I said, didn't testify beforehand, but before going on the witness stand, she got testimonial immunity because basically she was afraid for her life because of what he did to his wife.
Yeah, I guess.
Yep.
But,
so basically, after Vanessa's testimony, that was enough for Matt to be indicted the same day. And after 8 days total of being in court and hearing testimonies, the jury took 8 hours to decide that Matt was guilty. And he was sentenced to 65 years in prison. I don't know if it was with parole or not. And he was shocked at their decision and said, I believe the jury made a mistake in this. And basically, obviously, Kari's family was there, and her mother, in a statement to Matt after, said, you took her from us, Matt. You discarded her like she was yesterday's trash. You murdered the mother of your children, and I still can't wrap my head or heart around this. We forgive because that's the only way, Matt. The only way that love makes the way, so that eventually, just in this case, love trumps evil. So that's basically wrapping up the story. And if anyone's wondering, the two daughters currently live with their paternal grandparents in Kerrville, Texas. So that's the cherry story of the day.
I was gonna ask about that.
Yep, I got you.
Alright, well, thank you, I guess, for that.
I don't know who you should thank for that story.
The guy,
yeah, hopefully none of you get the wrong impression, but Candace and I would actually be very happy if we didn't have these stories to tell.
yeah, we
just
would.
to put that out there.
I would be fine with just talking about paranormal stories, but I don't know. I'm a little I'm a little interested in the macabre, so as I guess y'all must be as well if you're listening to this. And I don't know. Unless you're my grandparents who just listen because it's something that their granddaughter does. In that case,
Hi.
hi, Nana and Papa. Hope you find those pictures of Michael. Okay. I don't know, they used to listen to this at the beginning. They probably don't anymore. Alrighty. So, I have a short one for y'all today, which is a first. I'm going to be covering a short story.
Oh, yeah, I knew this already. I'm special.
Yeah. At the end of last week's episode, I talked about how it was going to be sort of like a two-parter, and that in this episode, I'm going to be covering. Oh, Lord. What's wrong with us? I'm going to be covering the Texas Governor's Building. Or mansion, I guess. So, the home is located at 1010 Colorado Street, which is about 300 yards southwest of the Capitol, if you're not directionally challenged like I am. Construction for the home began in 1854 and was finished in 1856, so it took about 2 years, and it's one of the oldest executive residences in the country. Fun fact. Before the home was built, the state would pay for the governor and his family to stay like in hotels and boarding homes while legislature was in session. So for a good 20 years, like, they did this for the governors. The governor didn't have his own home.
Wow.
Well, I mean, like, his own home near the Capitol.
Oh.
I'm sure he had his own home wherever he was from.
Just a tiny little mansion on the coast.
Yeah.
Oh,
goodness.
Oh, the sadness. Oh, the torture. Okay, that's enough.
How sad, yeah. Reports of hauntings date back all the way to its creation, is what one article said, although I don't know what kind of ghostly activity happened, because in my research, I didn't really see any reports of hauntings until 1863. So I don't know. It's the fourth oldest continuously occupied governor's home, and the oldest governor's mansion west of the Mississippi. I feel like the term, like, grandest or biggest or oldest west of the Mississippi comes up a lot in my research.
Interesting.
So the mansion cost about $14,500 to $17,500. About $2,500 went to furnishing the home, and that was during, like, Victorian time money.
Oh, I was like...
But yeah. It's a really nice home, and I'm sure it would cost much more to build it today. But yes, it was built under the supervision of Austin contractor Abner Cook, who gave the home a Greek Revival architecture design. He also worked on the Capitol building. He owned a clay pit on the Colorado River and used his own clay to mold the bricks that made the building. And the pillars were made from bastrop lumber, because I guess they learned that making buildings out of limestone is not that great, but, bastrop lumber, that doesn't catch on fire or anything.
Nope.
Foreshadowing. So Sam Houston lived there until he gave up his job as governor because he refused to join the Confederacy. On June 8th, 2008, an arsonist set fire to the home, allegedly with a Molotov cocktail. So at the time, Governor Rick Perry was governor, I guess, for lack of better words. But thankfully, him and his wife were on vacation in Europe during the time, so they were not in the home when the mansion was caught on fire.
Man, remember when people could go to Europe?
Yeah. Remember when we thought Rick Perry was the worst thing to happen to Texas? Anyways.
Good old days.
The mansion suffered serious structural and architectural damage because of this fire. No one has ever been charged in the arsonist case. However, the main suspect apparently had links to an anarchist group in Austin. Little fun fact.
So fun.
Yeah, but they didn't have, like, concrete proof or evidence to tie him to it, so no arrests were made. Since then, the building has been preserved, and it is still home to the Texas governor. So that's a little bit about the history, but let's get into the ghosts. So, first up is Sam Houston. Some people think he haunts there because of his scandalous opinion of not wanting to join the Confederacy. Sam Houston, he fought and led the war for Texas's independence and led the Texians to victory at the Battle of San Jacinto, just in case you didn't know. He was president of the Lone Star Republic and served as senator until 1860 before the war broke out. Houston absolutely refused to pledge allegiance to the Confederacy, and he warned the Senate against secession. But the Texas legislature was like, nah, we're going to join. And they discharged him of his duties. He died of pneumonia in Huntsville, Texas on July 26, 1863. Shortly after his death, people started witnessing him nervously pacing the floor in what used to be his bedroom. The room still has his actual bed in it today. Some people think that it's because he knew it's almost like a, what's the word? Like a residual haunting. And he's pacing the floor because he knows he's about to lose his job because of his opinion on the Civil War. Or, maybe it's because one day he knew that a certain governor would open up Texas too soon in the middle of a pandemic. But it really could be anything.
I wouldn't be surprised if our forefathers are just shaking their heads right now.
So I mentioned how the bed is still in his room, and how it could be like a residual haunting, or that maybe his spirit is attached to the bed. It almost reminds me of the ghost bride from the Jefferson Hotel, and how she was, like, they would move the bed from room to room and she seemed to follow the bed. I don't know. Fun fact, the bed was one of the few items that was saved during the arson fire in 2008. Now, just a little bit about this bed. It's made of mahogany, and it's a 4-poster bed, and it's not an easy thing to carry. So, someone or people had to have carried this bed out of a burning building.
Wow. I wonder who.
Like, oh my god, the building's on fire. Quick, get the bed. But anyways, back to his ghost. So if you try to approach Houston, he is said to just disappear. He doesn't really talk or interact with anyone. People have reported seeing a humanoid-shaped shadow in a corner of the room that is also believed to be him. Many governors and their families have seen his spirit. In particular, Governor Mark White's wife, Linda, and their daughter Elizabeth claimed they could feel his presence. Elizabeth was so scared of the room that she refused to go in it. Now, Houston's room is like right across from Linda and Mark's room, and late one night when everyone else was asleep, Linda noticed that his bedroom door was wide open and that the light above his painting was on. So she's like, oh, that's weird. She goes in, she turns the light off, and she closes the door behind her. The next morning, she's the first to wake up in the home, and she finds that his door is once again wide open and the light is back on.
Lovely.
Mm-hmm. So, this wasn't the first time something like this had happened to her. There was one night when she turned the light off several times, only for it to turn back on as soon as she turned it off. So, hang on, coffee break.
Good. Wait, coffee at this hour?
I don't sleep anymore.
Oh.
Anyways, oh, yeah, I just realized it's 9 o'clock at night. Yeah, no sleep for Candace.
If I'm the one who's like, wait, are you sure that's not something?
Like, I knew if Katie was asking me, I'm like, yeah, what's wrong?
Oh, it's not 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
That's what it feels like to me. I did wake up from a nap right before I came over here, and I was, like, super groggy. And so I decided I was going to go water in the garden, and I got attacked by spicy boys, or fire ants, for those who don't know who spicy boys are.
Yeah, you deserve a coffee.
And that woke me up. If you're ever super groggy and can't wake up from a nap, just go stand in a fire bed for 5 seconds.
Or you could do what I do, just splash
anyways,
water in your face. Okay, that's all.
That's probably a better and safer thing to do. Don't listen to me, listen to Katie. But anyways, so next up we have what I call the heartbroken ghost. He doesn't really have a name. So Governor Mara was the third and final Confederate governor of Texas. Towards the end of the war, this young man was visiting the home, and he fell in love with Mara's niece. He was courting her, and when he proposed to her, she rejected him. Also, just to let you know, I saw, like, conflicting stories. The main thing is that he was, like, courting Mara's niece, but other people think that he was actually Mara's nephew, and he was just courting some random lady in Austin at the time. Or he was Governor Mara's nephew, and he was courting Mrs. Mara's niece. So slightly incestuous, but they weren't blood related. Anyways, but I'm gonna go with he was just courting the niece, and he was not related.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Anyways, he was absolutely distraught, so he returned to the small north guest room that he was staying in, and he allegedly shot himself. It's unknown how he killed himself, but that's like the main belief. And his ghost now haunts the room. Shortly after his death, people began hearing the teenager's heartbroken wails and moans. Servants refused to go in there to clean the blood off the walls because they were so terrified. So from what I understand, the crime scene was there for quite a while and was left untouched.
Ugh.
Yeah. Anyways, the room was always ice cold, and guests that would spend the night there would report sounds of someone banging on the walls. It got so bad to the point that Governor Andrew Hamilton, who was the next governor, locked it up and forbid anyone to go in there, until it was opened 40 years later. But while it was sealed off, servants would try and avoid that area of the house at all costs. Many had seen with their own eyes the doorknob to the room would violently rattle on its own as if someone was inside the room and they were trying to frantically get out. From the hallway outside the door, they could feel like cold breaths on the back of their neck as if someone was breathing on them.
Ew!
Yeah. So once the room was finally open, the paranormal activity did slow down. However, it does ramp up on Sundays, which is said to be the day the guy killed himself. Not only can you still hear his cries, but he's also attributed to strange rattling sounds, gasps for air, and doorknobs inexplicably turning on their own. So next up we have Governor Pendleton Mara. Pendleton Mara is said to haunt the building and its grounds because of the shame that he felt from fleeing his office due to the South losing the Civil War. Mara moved, just a little bit about him, he had moved to Texas for its dry climate in 1850 after being diagnosed with tuberculosis. It was an ongoing battle for him, and the stress of leading his state during a civil war proved to be too much for him, and his health started to decline. When it became obvious Union troops were to occupy the capital during Reconstruction, him and several other leaders fled to Mexico. He would eventually pass away in 1865 in Monterrey, Nuevo Leon, Mexico. I couldn't find anything about people actually seeing his ghost or interacting with it. He's just kind of there, I guess. And next up is the ghost of a mysterious woman. People have seen her all over the property, but particularly outside the home. The legend goes that a maid became married out of wedlock, and when she was no longer able to hide her pregnancy, she was let go. It's unknown how she died, but people believe the woman they see on the lawn is her wanting her job back. Or if I was her, I would just kind of go back and haunt them and be like, you did this to me.
Yeah.
It's all your fault. And also people think that she might be waiting for her lover who wronged her.
I wish I could say good thing that doesn't happen anymore, but...
Yeah, if anything that this podcast has taught me is things don't really change.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a bad thing.
Thoughts.
Considering the subjects we talk about, yeah. But that's all I have on the governor's mansion. And that concludes this sort of two-parter of official buildings, or not official buildings, but you know, governor and political buildings in Austin.
Very nice.
Yeah. If you liked this episode, please don't forget to subscribe to us so you can be notified when we have new episodes. Tell your friends and family if you think they would enjoy it. If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, don't forget to leave a review and rate us. That really helps us. If you want to email us, you can email us at deadintheheartoftexas@gmail.com. I'd love just to hear from y'all, have a little conversation. If you have any, true crime or paranormal stories that you think we would like to hear, send them in. And if you want, we can read them on the show. You can tweet at us at Ditot Podcast. Once again, that's DITHOT Podcast. Do you have any updates?
I think I'm good.
Before we...
I posted another YouTube video the other day on my YouTube channel, Freckle to a T, T-E-A. And you can also find my video with Candace in it.
Yeah, just to get a little visual of how we look like, I guess.
Yeah, your mom must be so curious.
Yes, I know I am. I'm always very curious about how podcasters look in real life.
Or didn't somebody think I was white? Which, I'm not white.
Yeah. Katie's not white, just FYI.
Yeah, so if you're shocked, I gotcha. I don't know.
Yeah. Surprise! Until next time, y'all, I'm Candace.
I'm Katie.
And don't let black-eyed kids give you divorce counseling. Yeah. All right, bye, y'all.
Bye.